Thank you for that. So hi, this is the first recording that I have ever done with this transmission platform. So I am honored to have you as the first person to interview. It's very like setting the tone. I feel like you set a very high bar for global integrity, like responsibility, being responsible for your part in making the world a better place. So I'm humbled and gonna want to make this more about you. Although if you do ask me questions, like I'm also an open book. I specified the like forewarning, this might be intense, only because I have fucked people up from not giving like warnings before, just because I naturally am in a deeper place of like orientation. So that's just to, not that I'm saying I'm gonna fuck you up, like that's not what I mean. It's just to give a disclosure that I shared it might be transformational, because I really don't know what is going to be catalyzed for either of us in this containment.
Yeah, we never do. Thank you for the intro. Fuck me up all you want, sister. I am such an open book. Like, you know, I'm rooted in flying. So however this decides to flow, I'm really appreciative of it. It feels good, whether or not it's the first time or the last one. I'm just happy to support you, truly, and to feel the vibration and wanting to support each other. It's there's a sweetness to that I really truly appreciate. And I guess if I had one question for you, with what you're feeling right now, with this being the first transmission, if you were to close your eyes in the state that you're in and where all the energies are around you, what would that sound like to you personally, your own vibration?
But I have to interview you. I'm not a monkey in this interview.
It's good to know the vibration that you're coming from with taking the oar. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'll flow right with it.
Cool. So, the intention. So I'll just do a little intro. My name is Shannon, and this is Show of Truth. And the goal of Show of Truth is to be a platform for showcasing embodied leadership in the new paradigm. Why Show of Truth? Because there's so much news and billboards and ads and all kinds of information coming at me personally, and also every other human being from all sorts of directions, and not all of it's actually true. In fact, a lot of it is a bunch of story, and it has nothing to do with like what's really going on outside of the mental sphere of what we think is real. And so the goal of Show of Truth is to reinforce reminders for the collective of like real people that are doing real stuff in real current time that's actually taking place and is based in truth. And I don't mean truth like capital T, I am the all-knowing person. I mean truth as in like what's really happening, what's really going on, the real story, not the added on top stories. So the root story of what's happening. And I'll just segue right into like why I'm interviewing you, Bear Heart, is because I recognize you as a shaman. Now, I did read your bio, and your bio said a lot about your devotion to your family and your devotion to the beings that you immediately care for, and then how, as much as you can outside of that, extending it to be like a ray of, I see it like a ray of sun. You know, your central core family is the brightest, hottest part, but the rays are still extending out in every direction to everyone you meet. And that to me like when I say the word shaman and I say family and I'm giving all these examples, it's because to me what's real, especially about shamanism, is like very practical stuff. Like, even though people think it's like super woo-woo and super far out, the base of shamanism is rooted in just like the sun gives life to the earth, and then there's this cycle and there's nourishment. And so within your shamanic area of expertise, I know you've mentioned a couple things. Sorry, I get ahead of myself for whoever's watching. You are a leader, one leader, I'm assuming, in a part of a group called Sacred Sons. And that is a men's, like, I say men's empowerment group, but essentially it is a group of men gathering for the shared intention of empowering each other in their authentic expression. And so I'm going to ask you a couple things like about your involvement with Sacred Sons. And I'm also wanting to hear how that relates to your role as a father specifically and as a family man, and how that relates to being like an earth steward and a leader. So they're all connected, but I think it's important for you, for the people watching, and for myself and for everyone to hear how they're related and where the lines of connection are between Sacred Sons, your family, and being an earth steward given the times we're in, which is like pretty tumultuous. I mean, if anyone's watching this, I'm sure you know fires are happening in South America and all over the planet, and they have been for a couple years now. We know that that's rooted in a lot of deeper storylines, and there's a lot deeper I look at it as like a collective purging. And so within that, like all sorts of stuff is coming up. So for everyone, and we're not separated, which you know this. So I would like to hear, instead of just, oh, we're all one, we're all connected, the earth needs help. Like, how are those in practical ways actually connected for you? And I might interrupt you and be like, hey, can you explain about that one part more? But if you feel like those questions were clear enough for you, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, thank you. I feel you and I hear you. And they're good questions. So as far as pertaining to Sacred Sons, the main four rowers, I would say, of Sacred Sons is Neil, Adam, Jason, Albert. And where I fit into the Sacred Son movement is they had contacted me about a year ago, and you know, the word gets around within our tribe of who's actually showing up and who's consistent in showing up. And so Albert specifically had contacted me and said, hey brother, I'm seeing you, I'm feeling you. And with everything that's going around, I'd really like to be able to see if you want to come in as an elder and to be able to witness the space and to be able to be there for the brothers. And a lot of the brothers are somewhat new to this work. And some of them have been in the way a long time.
Can you explain what, like in a couple sentences, what the work is?
Yeah, the work would be self-transformation. The work would be shedding ourselves of everything that doesn't serve, from past societal norms, religion, families, schooling, you name it. Allowing ourselves to strip ourselves of what we think is the normal, because the shit is not. And specifically when it comes to the masculine and or, because I think that I can speak and express in many different ways. However, I don't know your audience very well. So from what the energies are telling me, the way that I come off will be how I'm supposed to. So when it comes to that, a brother or masculine, I look at both masculine and feminine together. However, sometimes there still is a duality.
So you're speaking to a man who has a penis, like just be real, like that's what you mean. They can be feminine. They can be a feminine expressed man or a more masculine expressed man. But when you speak of it, it's like a man in the sense that they have a penis as a genital orientation. Like
a man who naturally has sacred seed inside of him to be able to procreate. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So when it comes to that, that's the majority, and I say majority with a deep heart, is very confused. There's a lot of wounding, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of confusion. And to be able to come in and to speak and to be and to witness these brothers shed themselves, to go through many deaths and rebirths, and understanding what a role, if not many roles, is the reason why we were put here on this earth. The reason why we came back to this earth in this body, in this form, with this seed, with the strength that we come in with the size that we come in with, all of it together, and really allowing and being witness to the brothers saying, you know what, I'm at a point where I know I don't fucking know much, but I'm willing to learn. And the way that I can learn is by having examples. If I don't have an example of what that strength and sensitivity truly is from another man with a penis and with seed inside of him, how do I know what to base myself off of? How do I know what to base anything off of? Most of us are, just simply from birth, be it man or woman, the first thing they do is they take us out of the womb in a very unnatural way, and they clothe us. They take us away from the elements. They take us away from our natural ability to feel. And when we can no longer feel, and when we have everything surrounding us, everything goes from confusion from that point. So brothers, at least for the Sacred Sons movement, because I spearhead Wild Brothers and La Fuerza Sagrada, and what that is the sacred force. And so essentially, we combine the two of the Sacred Sons that are coming up, that are learning, that are doing really deep work, that are witnessing each other. And the way that that work can look, that could be in full expression. That could be in a program that I put together called Predator to Protector, which is where we are able to actually be real, and I mean real, about the predator nature in us, and how that can be very, very, very toxic, and how that can turn into protector, which is extremely needed and healthy.
In that alchemy, just because I am interested in like people being able to access you in the predator to protector, which I'm grateful for your alchemy, because that's what it is. Is that an individual, like you work one-on-one, or is that also a group thing?
So that's both individual and in large group form.
Okay.
It just depends on what the context is. And so when we're speaking of Sacred Sons, usually my groups, or the groups that I have calling through me, where I usually, it's taking brothers out into deep bush, which is where I'm usually at most of the time, unless I'm with my daughters and being a very loving and active father. We go into deep bush, and it's usually between 10 and 15 brothers. Sacred Sons, what's really, really special about that is that they come together and they bring brothers in 100 to 200 at a time. So essentially, it's bringing in lone wolves from all over the world that say, okay, I know I can do it alone, but that shit isn't working.
It's dead. That's
when
dead.
when we could be wild, and when we can really embrace each other as the lone wolves, to be able to come together as a pride, much, much more energy, much, much more ability to see examples, and not just one example, but to say, wait a minute, there's one, and these ones don't have to say a damn thing. They just come into this space and goosebumps come over everybody, simply because of the way that they see, simply because of the way that they allow themselves to feel. When they cry, they don't wipe those tears. They allow themselves to be in whatever emotion is coming through them, because that is what is keeping us stagnant. We're pushing emotion down. We're pushing emotion down through society, through our parents, through religion, through the perspective of to be a man. You need to push that shit down and control it. On the contrary, we need to be able to remember how to feel it. And the only way that we can remember how to truly feel is if we can feel ourselves. And that comes to many different tools and many different ways of remembering how to feel ourselves. And then it goes into ancestral work. And then it goes into all the way back.
So I want to just say, for whoever's watching this, like, if you're at all interested and have at all felt like, fuck, I'm going to cuss a lot probably too, but if you've at all
that's a part of being real.
Yeah, like, it's whatever, it's a sailor's thing, they say. If you're at all called, like, if there's even like a little tiny scratch happening for you, if you're a man watching this, obviously, that you need this sort of thing, like, I'm going to tell you now, like, reach out to this man today, like whenever you watch this, because there's no time to waste. Today is tomorrow. Like, that's just what it is. There's no like, oh, in the future, these things are going to happen. Like, whatever has had us thinking that we have time to wait for evolution is like not real. That's again, one of the stories that we've bought into, that there's like, we need to wait for something in order to transform. This embodiment that Bearheart is sharing with you actually is like accessible to you right now if you just say yes to doing it. Now the process will obviously take time, because like we've been winding these stories in for so long, but like, just, I wanted, for some reason I'm being called to just keep reminding that the embodiment that you are sharing right now, these men that are also sharing, and the examples that are being held, they're examples because they're possible. They're examples because they're possible. And
they're here.
They're here. Yeah. Like I remember something that I've had to learn in my evolution and in my even being bold or whatever, has been that when I see something outside of myself that it's like, oh, I want that. Like, the only reason why I'm able to recognize that I want that is because I can also match and mirror that within myself to some degree. And so I would not be experiencing like, oh, I really admire and want that quality that Bearheart is exuding right now if I wasn't also able to embody that myself. And I mean, that's why the reminders are so important. And that's why I'm even on this call with you, is just to continue the conversation. But don't hesitate. That's all I'm saying, is like, don't hesitate if you're watching this to just do something now. We don't have tomorrow. We don't have the next day. And that's not from like a, what is the word? Apocalyptic perspective. That's actually from like a real perspective that oh my gosh, I'm going to get so woo woo. So like, spiders, you love spiders. I love spiders. Spider medicine has been one of my biggest like allies, sort of lessons in life. And the spider creates something out of nothing every day. Like every single day, that spider is getting up, weaving its web, catching what it needs, and eating it. And it does it every single day. It's not like it just built something and then it sits back on its couch and like drinks pina coladas waiting for the flies to come. Like, it's constantly rebuilding its web. And so whatever, my point in that is just that we have to do it every day. You know, we have to wake up every day and remember our commitments and ask ourselves, like, what are we committed to? And then do something to actually embody that. And like, anyone who's watching this, since this is called like leadership, embodied leadership in the new paradigm, that's what that looks like, is whatever you want to align yourself to, you wake up in the morning and you just do that thing. You just do that thing. Like, no waiting for tomorrow. So don't wait. If you feel any curiosity to work with this man or be a part of any of the groups he's a part of, do it today. Like now, like even just make an email and send it, and don't have to be attached to what that looks like, but do it. Yeah, so with that rant, I'm just going to look at some of my notes here. So
can I mention one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to whoever, even if it's one person who comes on, because I have no idea the demographic.
Yeah.
Whoever is on, I really want to say thank you. And it is for a reason. We could be anywhere in the world with anyone else doing anything else, but we're choosing to be right here, right now at this moment. And so if you could feel that and you could hear that and you can understand that, just thank you. Thank you. We're investing in each other, every single word, every single breath. And that's what I dedicate to. And also on top, and like we said, I am a father, and at any moment my daughters can come in the room and say, hey daddy, I love you, or hey daddy, this. I don't shut them down. I teach them to be as wild as they could possibly be. So I don't ever shut them up and say, don't come in, don't bother me, don't do anything like that. So at any time, if they do come in and I just take a moment to express to them what I'm doing, I hope that doesn't take away. And from an empowered and embodied father to two warrior princesses, I don't recommend or teach any male or any masculine to shut down any feminine, no matter how young or how old they are. We are in this together, and we all have a voice, and we all have that voice to speak when we feel it need be. So thank you. I just wanted to say that, and I don't get embarrassed when my daughters come in. They're part of my life that I brought in ceremony, calling their names into the space on purpose with their mother. And so I just wanted to say that as well. And so if we could feel that. And one more thing, sister, I'm feeling pretty warm. Would it make you feel uncomfortable at all if I took my shirt off?
It's just it's an interesting topic, and I immediately feel irritated, not by you, but the fact that like I, as a woman in this culture, this is what's coming up. I, in this woman as a culture, am pissed the fuck off that I can't just take off my top when I'm hot, without getting some sort of like that it's illegal.
If you want this to be truth, feel free to do whatever you feel is necessary as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people are going to be able to see this video if I'm completely topless in the video. And it's interesting that you asked that, because some themes that have been coming up for me has been like, what really is consent? Like, what is consent really? And I'm curious, since none of us like have ever really been taught like from a young age what the fuck real consent actually is. What do you feel like consent looks like in this dynamic with regards to the shirt being off? Is it just that I say yes, or like what? Do you have any words on that?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for being real about that. True consent comes from a true and honest ask. There's no way to consent to anything unless there's a very, very genuine ask, which is why I asked instead of just taking my shirt off and just doing me, because we're in this together. We're in the energetic together.
Yeah.
So how you consent to it would be whatever's in your most truth. If you say, you know what, it would make me feel uncomfortable for this reason, that's one part of it. And I'll honor whatever that part is, because we're in this together. We're co-creating this together. And I would always recommend, no matter who's watching, no matter what it is, if this is the channel of truth, then you do you, sister.
Yeah, well, like what comes up for me is like, we're totally going quote off topic, but I don't believe that's actually like real. Do you have any ideas as to how to create like a win-win with women in a culture where I would love to legally be as topless as you because of temperature reasons without there being anything, but that's not actually acceptable in our culture? And yes, like men have all these programs as well that they're working through, but the being without clothes in public is less like invasive to the culture than women being like nude in public. So I'm curious, like what you might do, or what you might do to foster equality in this conversation, given that I don't actually feel comfortable to take my top off right now on this platform, given that I have no idea who it's going to be shared with. And I might actually be topless in a private ceremony. But since
great question,
I'm not sure where this is going on the internet, like it's not actually possible to share it with a lot of people if I take my top off. So how would you
question
be in that?
Yeah, so it's a part of the daily work. It's a part of the work that I do with the brothers and the sisters, because before I started specifically working with the brothers, the sisters were the ones that came to me and said, brother, your energy is so clear. It is so crystal clear. You actually see me as your sister. You don't get taken out of your integrity due to sex, money, or power. That's obvious. And so can you please hold the space for us to be able to unleash ourselves? Can we actually have a space where we can unrobe ourselves and know that nobody's going to be peeking over our shoulder and giving us that creepy feeling of, are they judging me? Are they like secretly sexually like putting something into me? So this is the work I straight up go with the brothers. And some brothers have never had sisters. I was raised with naked women around me all the time. And one of the first sayings I always said was, if you've seen one pair of boobs, you've seen them all. Because they were always around me, and it never was embedded as like, oh, that equals sex. It was, well, yeah, but my shirt's off, so why shouldn't your shirt be off? And now in our society, most men in this day and age, I don't feel are ready for that. And I feel that most women, if I'm being absolutely honest, most women would be in some form of either energetic danger, physical danger, judgment danger, which is horrible. It's absolutely horrible that men have not been able to rise to that level, but they actually don't have the examples. And so to have an example of other men that are able to check the brothers and say, wait a minute, where's this coming from? And that goes into a much deeper conversation. And so how do I feel that women could bridge that gap? Number one, be really fucking honest about it. Explain to brothers exactly what you need and what you want in that. Because if the women don't say, this is what we want, this is what we need, this is what we expect, they forget that men are much more simple. For us, the majority of us, it's like, just tell me. Tell me, I just don't want to screw up. And if you don't tell me, I'm going to come up with 1,000 different things, trying to come up with an answer or trying to come up with a healing solution for it. And that's not the decision of the man. That's the decision of the female. That's the decision of the one that would feel judged. And not to say that not all men don't feel judged because of how their body looks and because of how much shame that has been put onto them by women and by men. So this is how we can co-create and co-collaborate together in feeling comfortable in our own skin to be able to check each other. If a sister comments on a brother, it's like, wait a minute, where's that comment coming from? Is this your brother? You need to separate that shit. Separate it. Body does not mean sex. Touch does not mean sex. Being sensual does not mean being sexual. These are huge differences. And I feel that a part of the reason why this can be misconstrued, not only from societal reasons and not only from religious reasons, but when it comes to like the misunderstanding of what comes to mind right now would be Tantra. It seems like people go straight into what they think Tantra is, and that it's sexual and sensual. And there's so much more to it. That's only one aspect, and it's a small aspect compared to what the roots of it is. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to that, there's a lot of misteachings, there's a lot of miscommunication, and
I want to pause you.
We get to check each other.
I want to pause you just as like a little distinction for whoever's watching, is that like Tantra in essence is ecstatic union with universal connection. It's not isolated to penis, vagina, intercourse. Like Tantra is ecstatic communion with the oneness, with the universe, with all that is. Like I could fucking have an orgasm, and I have, by touching a leaf on the ground, because I'm feeling where it came from and the water and the lifetime, and like I'm like, oh my God, yes, creation, you know. And it has nothing to do with even a person to a person. So I wanted to just like repeat that distinction, because it is something that is like super misunderstood, and I definitely have compassion because our sexuality is like at the core of our existence here, like our continual being humans on the planet. And that's where so much wounding is. So it makes sense why there's that confusion. But like for safety purposes, if you're a leader, like just really make sure that you're educated about what's Tantra really, so that if you do participate in the sexual aspects of it, you're going into it understanding that you're choosing that particular flavor, but that's not what it is.
And so, I come about it from 4 very simple words.
Yeah.
Slow down and feel more.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. That to me is the embodiment of Tantra. Slow down, like slow down, and feel everything we can possibly feel. And when we do that, when we be that, when we live that, yes, the body will react. The body will come back online. There's many, 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 many great aspects to these teachings if we could simplify them.
Thank you for that simple distinction.
Mm-hmm.
There was something I was going to ask you. Slow down, feel more.
Mm-hmm. In every way.
Yeah.
In every way, with ourselves, with our partners, with the trees, with Mama Gaia, with the water, every single thing. Slow the fuck down and feel everything.
So with that, you just reminded me of the next question that I did want to ask you, which was, you did already mention, I was going to ask you about leadership, but you've already mentioned a lot of things that would speak to what you mean by a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your leadership, how do you think or believe or feel or know that we can keep Mother Earth safe? And what I mean by Mother Earth safe is that we become a part of seeding harmony instead of perpetual disharmony and destruction.
Yeah, really good question. Okay, when I get asked this question, I just flow. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, I hear all of this energy and vibration about we need to keep mama safe, protect mama, protect mama, protect mama. This is happening to Mother Earth. This is how we heal her. Bullshit. The only way that we can actually feel like we're going to do anything to heal her, it's not by any one thing other than actually being able to do the deep work within ourselves. If we cannot truly understand how to heal ourselves and remember for ourselves, especially for the brothers, this is specifically to you, any male masculine with seed inside of you that identifies as a male, this goes to you. If you cannot keep your own mother safe, if you cannot keep the women safe that are in our society, with the biggest money maker in our entire society is slavery over women and children, sex slavery. If we can't go there, if we can't be warriors for that, if we can't be protectors and guardians for what is most precious, which is our oracles, it's the only way into this dimension, the only way into this reality is through those sacred portals. If we can't keep that safe, there's no way that we can keep any type of Mother Earth safe, no matter how many trees you plant, no matter how many whales you help, no matter any of that, that will not matter. It does not go the backwards to front. We have to be able to keep ourselves safe. We have to be able to stop any of the negative, any of the dirty, any of that succubus energy, that taking, that raping, that conquering. If we don't conquer that in ourselves, we will continue to take a blind eye to every other woman that's being raped. It is absolutely an atrocity to think that we can do anything for Mother Earth. Mother Earth got it. She's got it. We can all die. It can all go up in flames no matter what. And within a specific amount of years, she's got that shit. But if we continue to rape her, if we continue to have a blind eye to what's happening on our street corners, in our schools, in our churches, in our temples, and everywhere that's around us and act like that's going to be the end goal, hell no. No, they need to be safe. They need to be honored. And not because there's any type of an understanding that there's a weakness, because they are that special. Give honor to that. Give the credit to that. If we're going to stand for anything, if we're going to be taking martial arts training, if we're going to be doing this and that and everything else to say that we're big and strong, do it for what's natural. This is the way. That's the Tao, the natural way, the nature way. The oracles and Mama Gaia is good, but it needs protection. And it doesn't start from the backside to the front. The only way that that happens, the only way that we make a dent is we heal it inside of ourselves. We connect to the feminine inside of ourselves. We connect to the oracle inside of ourselves. And we actually understand what we all have a very similar pride for. And that's the one who brought us into this world. No matter how much maybe mothers had confused us, maybe mothers had traumatized us, maybe mothers were the most toxic one inside, they still brought us into this world. Our ancestors did every single thing that they possibly could. The oracles and the portals have been in rape, have been in slavery, have been in all of the most negative vibration you can think of. Locks and chains for generation after generation after generation to get you here. To get your male body, your male size, and your male strength, and not to take from them, not to rape them, not to conquer them, but to fucking protect them. That's how we do it. We make sure that all these daughters of ours, one daughter is all of our daughters. One sister is all of our sisters. One mother is all of our mothers. And if we don't understand that, you could plant as many trees as you want to plant. She'll laugh at that. because it doesn't come from the root. If it comes from the root, she'll have chills herself. And that's when we get online.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know you mentioned,
Essentially, in a nutshell, we need to protect the witches.
Yeah.
We need to protect the oracles. We need to be the protectors and the very loving and very fierce stand with the oracles and understand that we have it inside of ourselves. But if there's anything that's holding any of that negative vibration, any of that ancestral trauma, any of that from past lives, if we hold on to any of that whatsoever, we will have a blind eye to what's happening in our exterior, because we also have a blind eye to the interior. The Amazon will still burn. The corporations will still allow it to burn and be the ones that are actually doing it. Our governments will continue to still play these games because they know that the majority of everyone else are slaves and sheep. And because it's designed like that, the religions will continue to have that upper role and that financial aspect of it to be able to keep us in locks and chains in our minds and our hearts, to not allow us to remember that it's already inside of us. If that happens, if we remember it's already inside of us, you cannot be a slave. And if we are no longer willing to be slaves in ourselves, we will no longer allow the sacred portals to be slaves.
Yeah, and I thank you for that. I'm like interrupting you only because I'm thinking of time, and I also want to just like cut through that. If you are a man and you're watching this and you're thinking, or you're a woman, I don't care, because at this point, like, I'm a very masculine woman. I'm aware of the men that I've been in many lives. I also am a very masculinely oriented female, just in my architecture. But aside from that, or in conjunction with that, if you, and this is to myself too, like that I am everything I say, I'm willing to take my own fucking medicine. So, and often it hits me harder than anyone else. So it's like, especially if I say something. So my statement of wanting to say this is like, if you're a man and you're thinking like, oh yeah, I honor women. If there's any part of you that still feels distasteful in your mouth when you think about a woman, and not all women in general, but if there's any woman in your consciousness where you still think about her in a distasteful way and you don't fully see her in compassion and honor, that you're not fully living what he's speaking about. And that it's not just about being like, oh, I love women, I honor women, I'm going to go to a tantric puja and bow and praise the goddess. No, it's like living that, and living that means that that you're free of resentment, that you're actually free of resentment. And I am still working in my own life to unhook from these deeper cords because of growing up from childhood abuse till like very recently. So I understand how it can be hard to sometimes unwind from our resentments, and you're not done, and you're not embodying what he's speaking of fully until you're actually liberated from those resentments. And so I'm personally dedicated every freaking day I wake up till when I go to bed to doing everything I can to unwind from those resentments and to get to the deeper stuff. And you know, a lot of what we're speaking about is shadow work. Like that's pretty much like what we're speaking to is just like shadow work. You know, it's talking about rebirth, death and rebirth. That's the shadow work. It's required. And it's fucking required for what we've got going on. Like we all need to die to these old things in order to truly live this embodied experience. And like I keep getting called to just remind that it's a process and it takes time, and to just keep fucking going. Because I've been working on evolving my consciousness actively, like from the trauma that I've experienced for probably 11 years now actively. And I still have lots of shit that has to be unraveled. And whatever is most alive for you, as far as like the next step, the next tool, the next thing, just take action on that now. And I'm not mad at you. Like, I'm not mad at you that you have resentments, not you or whoever's watching that you still have resentments, but I will be fucking pissed if you don't do anything about it. And that, because that pisses me off.
as you should be. I mean, that is the fire, right? There's time for fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening.
Just like there's time for water. Yeah.
Yeah, right now we're in a fire time.
Yep.
So it's like burning those agreements, burning, like, I am aware that I have, like, I'm not a victim, right? I am not a victim to these programs and these conditionings and these cultures. We all chose to forget collectively to see if we could remember. And now we're in the remembering phase, and that's like a part of it, right? That's a part of the whole thing. But in the remembering phase, it is not fucking love and light. Like, it is not like everything's great. Like, the remembering phase requires that everything that has been is destroyed now. So like, it's not just unicorn rainbow farts. It's like decay and shit and pussing and oozing and like vomiting. And I'm saying all this really gross stuff because purging this old stuff requires that we get real personal with it. It's not like I'm gonna let it go to somebody else. Like, no one's gonna take responsibility. If you're here on the planet right now and you've got shit going on, if you know it or not, or maybe you don't know it, like, you're karmically responsible for everything that you have going on in your life. Like, it's your bag. And the only thing that's helped me,
and you can cut off, sister. Hello? Something happened to the video. Got you.
Here? Yeah.
Got you.
Fucking someone called me, and it's fine. I was seeing it. We're kind of like getting towards the end-ish, like as far as our time. Just that we're all karmically responsible for what we've got going on. And within that, since we all have shit and we all need help, because this program of we live in our own little apartments is totally like not harmonious with our humanity, is that we're going to get through it. Like, we are going to get through it. The dark, icky, gross fucking shit, albeit like feels like we're dying, literally, like like, you might actually think you're dying. Like, you might actually think that you are really physically dying. But the only way to get through that is to feel and actually be present. This is my own thing, is to actually feel and be present to that I have brothers and sisters who have my back and who are also walking the same path, and who actually, if I just show up, they're not going to do the work for me, but they will hold my fucking hand and tell me that I've got this. So long as I'm willing to be that vulnerable, like as long as I'm willing to be that vulnerable and be like, oh yeah, like I am a perpetrator. Like, I, as a woman, like, I have raped the planet. I have raped the planet, even though I'm a woman, because I have been ignorant to my connection and participated in consumerism and participated in all the same things that we're saying men need to heal from. Like, I've done it too. And
thank you.
Yeah, like, the only reason why I'm able to say that is because I fucking have been really present with that. I actually did it, and I can't lie to myself anymore. And we're not helped. Like, it doesn't help to be shameful on top of it about what we have done. Because we did it. We all did it. And now we are going to undo it. So,
it's a part of being real. We could be real. We could be real without the shame and the blame, and we should love ourselves through it and shine the light to it, so there's no darkness that continues to remain. Yeah. Can I say one last thing about that topic, about like sometimes how men have like a negative feeling about, you know, like, oh, well, I do respect the women and I do this and all that.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important to understand history. and not so much of, you know, like our bodies were not meant to remember fact. They were meant to remember the feeling and that real tangible, the memory. And so one thing in men's circles that I hear often when I bring this topic up is the number one is it's bare heart. Yeah, but they're manipulative. They manipulate. Okay. Take a deep breath. If for thousands of years you couldn't defend yourself physically, you were forced into slavery, you were forced to be raped over and over and over again, children taken from you, husbands killed off that were protecting you, and you had no choice, what would you do? If you couldn't match, no, I'm asking the brothers.
Oh.
If you couldn't match strength for strength, what would you do? You would utilize the mind. You would utilize the body in different ways. You would do whatever it was necessary to continue to live, because there is a purpose to live with a womb. There is a purpose to live with a seed. And this is where I get the brothers really like head on. Don't blame them for what they had no choice in. We have an opportunity to take this for ourselves, sip on it, and then roar that shit out because of how many of our mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, daughters, beloveds, that happened to them. And in certain points in our evolution, in our life, we did not protect them the way they actually needed it. And now's the time to change. No blame. Just understand it.
If you could leave one message for the woman inside every man, what, like if it was like your toast, you know, like you were to toast. I'm cheesy. So you were like to toast and give, you know, like one message to the woman inside every man. Like what would be that one message? Maybe it's a blessing. That's just the quality. It's like to the woman inside every man, what is like your last speech, your
Yeah. Here it is.
Hurrah.
Here it is.
That was it.
Never again. Never again. Never allow any of your power to diminish for any reason whatsoever, be it death, be it slavery, be it whatever. Because the only way for us to be able to understand that it's that big of a deal is to make us know it. Never again. Don't shut up. Don't hold it in. Blaze that fire. When mama says this is enough, she produces an earthquake. She produces tsunamis. She produces the fires. It's time for them. Mm-hmm. It's time for them. And with as much love as you could possibly give, because it needs to come from love. Give us as much of it from love as you possibly can, and do not stop. Teach your daughters the same thing. Teach their daughters the same thing. And let the men who actually feel the oracle inside of them, will get the brothers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that you've shared. And I'm not really for any much more words other than that's a powerful statement of truth. And there's nothing. La 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 la. Wah 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 wah.
And that's a good way to make that toast.
The wah wah?
No, the toast. Leave him speechless and let him feel it all.
All right. Boom. So this is Bare Heart. You will be able to reach him through his website and through links that I provide you. So, and every way to contact him, you will have access to. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And holy revolution.
We're working, sis. We're working.
Yeah.
Sacred Sons, Wild Brothers, La Fuerza Sagrada. We are working.
You are working.
Mm-hmm. And we're feeling it all.
You feeling it all? I mean, I've got the raging river of rage.
Yeah.
It's continual.
Yeah. We got this.
Got this.
Much love to you.
Much love to you. Is there anything that you feel like you want to share more, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, deep thank you. A deep, I think my vibration and my energy sort of says it all. But thank you, because if it wasn't for you coming on and putting this container, I would just be continuing to do my thing in my own ways and how spirit leads it best. But you establishing this container, you being the bowl where we're able to fill it with some really, really good stuff, some good fruit is coming from the bowl that you're containing. Yeah. And so thank you for allowing this to be out there. And like I said, one person may see this, 1 million people may see this. And if nobody resonates with it, that's okay. Watch it tomorrow.
Thank you for honoring
tomorrow. Watch it the next day.
Thank you for honoring my womb capacity.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
And thank you for being honest when I asked you about would it make you feel uncomfortable, and you said yes, and not necessarily because of what my chest would expose, but simply because you wouldn't feel comfortable in the same right. And I really respect that. This is where consent comes from. Do we have a mutual understanding? If we don't have a mutual understanding, then there is no consent. Ask. Ask everything. Ask the woman. Ask the flower. Ask the tree. Ask, ask, ask.
I want to ask you for forgiveness for all the times in which I have made the masculine wrong. That was it.
There's no need, and fully accepted. Fully accepted. Yeah, we get to rise together, sister.
Well, I asked. I was like, okay, I'm asking, is there anything else to say? And I was like, ask him for forgiveness. Like, I will ask you for forgiveness.
Yes. Immediately, and vice versa. To any and all generations, any and all lifetimes, any and all vibration. Please forgive us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. that wasn't slow. That was rapid fire. Thank you. I love you. Sorry. Please forgive me.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Until we speak, until we meet, this was Bear Heart on Show of Truth, activating new leadership, activating embodied leadership in the new paradigm. And we're creating it. It doesn't exist yet. We're creating the new paradigm. And I'm grateful to be here with you.
Yeah, same.
Until next time, until we meet again. Many
fly
blessings.
High and root low.
Yeah, fly high, root low. I like that.
Sure.
Sometimes I fly high and I forget the root.
Love, sister.
Love you too.
Peace.
Bye.